Hey, shalom guys. So today's video is called You Are Enough. You are enough. This isn't going to be a teaching on the pictographs, but it is going to be a teaching on life lessons that each and every one of us have gifts inside of us that Abba planted, just like you plant seed, noon, in the ground. And that seed was planted in darkness. But once it started to rain, mem, water, that seed started to grow. But it first had to grow in darkness. And once it started growing and growing and growing some more, it peeked its head out of the darkness. And it saw its first breath of light. That's a story, an analogy of us. We started out in darkness in this world. And then we saw the light of day when Abba revealed himself to us. So we are enough individually and collectively with the beautiful gifts that we have that Abba has planted inside of each and every one of us to use for his purpose and esteem alone. And I'm still going through it right now, but I recently was taught a lesson. It's kind of funny. The last couple videos that I put out have been lessons of trial. Isn't that what our lives are all about, guys? Different things that we learn throughout time. The ups and downs, which also describes mem. The ups and downs of life. So I went on a trip to go visit a girlfriend. A very precious girlfriend who has a heart for the Father. And while I was visiting this friend, I was taught several different things. But it wasn't until I arrived back home that I realized that when we have people in our lives that have a heart, have a love for the Father, sometimes we can put them on a pedestal. We can think they're so incredible, so amazing, which they are. But we can put them so high on top of this pole, or lamed, that we end up idolizing them, which is what a staff is. A staff guides you in one way, or it guides you in another. Whose staff? And I realized that I had put this friend of mine up on a pedestal thinking she was so much better than me. Thinking that she's doing great things in her life that don't even compare to, me. And I realized that there was idolization going on. And that's not my friend's fault. It had to do with me and my own insecurities. I was humbled while I was in this friend's presence because I got to see that we weren't so different. She had things in her life going on that were challenges, as do I. And I got to see that sometimes this picture, or a box, if you want to call it that, this picture that we paint of people's lives, like their house, their bait, we think that, you know, everything's in its place and everyone's, you know, they got it made, you know, thoughts like that. And I realized that this friend of mine isn't better than me, even though I had painted a picture that she really was. She's not better than me. She's got struggles just like I do. We're all in different places. Not one of us are better than the other. And this is a message that Yeshua taught, our Messiah, that he was the same. He wasn't greater than the rest of them, the rest of the people that he healed, or you know, his disciples, the Talmudim. He put himself right in the midst of them, even though he was the Son of Man. And he had no sin. He still had compassion on them. And he humbled himself. And so this is an experience that humbled me, because I realized that it's very easy to make people idols in your life. And we don't need to do that. We don't need to put people up on pedestals. We don't need to esteem them. We need to keep our eyes and our lives focused on Elohim. And how do we do that? By focusing on the way our Messiah walked. For he is the way, Yeshua. He is the doorway, the Dalit, that leads us down the pathway, Tzadi, on the way that we are to live our lives. And that's not just physically walking with our gimmels. It's thinking. When we process information, that process is also a walking that happens within our own minds. And that process is always challenging. I think that's the whole point of this life. This life is not supposed to be all peaches and cream. You're going to have ups and downs, but what you do with the situations that are presented to you is what shows the pathway that you're taking. So don't compare yourself to others, guys and gals. We're all beautiful. We all have challenges. We all have faults. But we need to keep our attention on the Most High in His Word, or we're going to stumble and we're going to fall. And that is my message for today. You are enough. I'm enough, just the way that Abba has planted me in the ground. We're all different fruit, different seeds that were planted across the four corners of our earth, Tet. And we got to make sure that we're planting the seeds that were planted in us into other people's lives. We can't make them grow, because only Yeshua, He's the water, He's the mem that can make these seeds grow. But we're to spread these seeds, just like a gardener spreads the seeds in the garden. We're to spread the seeds of truth to all four corners of our Tet earth. And if they're watered, they're watered. And if they're not, they're not. But that's not up to us. We're not to force people to believe a certain way. Yeshua didn't do that. He wasn't trying to convince people to believe in him. He spoke to them in parables. In fact, many did not even understand him. So he didn't feel the need to explain himself. But his whole ministry evolved around love, loving others, not loving them more than yourselves, but loving them equally. Because that is the greatest command that there is. To love Abba, Yahweh, and when you love him, you know how to love others. Because the love that pours forth from you is like a river that spreads on to all the people that you meet in your life. So you need to focus on love. Love people where they are at. You don't have to agree with where they are. But we do need to love people and treat them as we ourselves would want to be treated. So, all right. You are enough. Just the way that you are. You're always improving. If that's what you want to do. If you want to draw closer to Abba, you'll improve step by step. And those steps that you take are one step at a time. They're not going to happen overnight. We all have weaknesses. We all have strengths. But not one of us is greater than the other. We're all equal in the eyes of Elohim. So humble yourselves and show people love. And love yourself, but don't idolize yourself and don't idolize others. All right. Shalom, guys.